What is up, everybody? It's a happy Memorial Day to y'all. I don't know how to talk right now. I'm just looking around because these darn birds down there are making a lot of noise. Anyway, today's the day. Finally moving the Aldabra'S outside. The weather's been really nice and warm during the day here in Atlanta, but the nights have still been, inconsistent, high 50s, low 60s, high 60s, back to low 50s. And I really didn't want to move them out here until we were consistent and, mid to high 60s, which we're finally at that point. So we're going to go move the tortoises and put them... Still got a couple things real quick I got to fix in here, but finally moving them out here and let them enjoy their summer. Alrighty, so we got them all moved out here finally. So let's talk Aldabra'S tortoises, since we haven't gone too much into detail with them. Oh, we got an audience over there. Oh, she's running away. So the Aldabra'S tortoise, they are the second largest species of tortoise in the world, just behind the Galapagos tortoise. The Galaps have them, a few pounds bigger. I think the term's called parallel evolution. I can't think of the term, but they evolved very, very similarly. That's why they do actually look very similar, and they both get very large. So your Aldabra'S, a big male, once he gets older, they're easily going to be well over 500 pounds. Our good buddy Sam Pascucci down at Florida Iguana Tortoise Breeders, he's got some... I think his biggest Aldabra'S is like 530, 540 pounds. It's only like 30 years old. So these guys are they're awesome. They are a very friendly, social tortoise. Right now, these guys, like we've talked about in the past, they're still kind of skittish just because they are still young. They're still small. And, we don't sit here and spend hours every day with them. But as they do get older, they actually do turn, puppy dogs with normal socialization, where they'll come up to you, extend their necks to get scratched, all that fun stuff. But one of the really, really cool things with the Aldabra'S that you don't get with the Galaps and a lot of other tortoise species is you can cohab them in groups that have multiple males. You can even have groups that are just filled with all males, and they'll get along perfectly fine. They'll sleep next to each other with their heads in each other's shells. Most other species like, sulcatas, Galaps, all those, the males will fight, and it's no bueno. So the Aldabra'S are really, really cool that they are this social. The Aldabra'S tortoises come from the Seychelles Islands, which is this really tiny, tiny little group of islands off the coast of Madagascar. So very far away from the Galapagos Islands. Samson, you doofus, he thinks that these are freaking toys, but they're clearly not. They're expensive toys. But yeah, they're really, really cool social animals. And they're pricey, but they're really fun to have. So along with all the fun stuff about their personalities, they're actually a very easy tortoise to take care of, compared to, like redfoots or yellowfoot, stuff that needs maybe like a higher humidity requirement. Where these guys come from, it's, it is tropical, but it's a little bit more temperate, to where, 60, 70% humidity, kind of like your normal, is actually about what they really like. They don't need 90% humidity. They're not quite like a sulcata where an adult's good, with desert humidity. And temperature wise, they'll like a basking spot, low to mid 90s at the highest, ambient temps, they're going to like it in the 80s, low to mid 80s is a good ambient temp. Excuse me, I don't know what's going on today. Talking too much and not breathing enough. Sammy, get away from here. Why don't I just shut the door? That'll probably make my life a little bit easier. So like I've talked about before too, I know jumping around, because that's what I do. These guys are in a 10 foot by 10 foot chain link dog kennel. Got it from Tractor Supply a few years ago for like $300. It's great. I did have a screen that came over and covered everything up, especially while they were smaller. Of course, being worried about birds of prey and whatnot. These guys are big enough now and heavy enough now that fear is not there. Don't have to worry about it. So we got that all taken off. But yeah, so these guys are really, really easy to keep outside of their size. You've got to make sure that you have enough space for them, which is why we're going to be redoing that room downstairs. That table they were in was too small. And even with this, probably by next summer, I might even have to do something bigger than this, which is fine. We'll handle all that. But, you can keep these guys indoors or outdoors. Of course, outdoors is going to be the more ideal for them, which is why we try and get them out here during the summer. What are they? They are just so funny. So during the summer here in Georgia, you know, it's really perfect for them. The temperatures, it gets nice and hot, but with shade and all that, it's perfect. The humidity for them is just perfect. Where are you going, you little goober? Run, run, run as fast as you can. Oh, you're not gonna run. Oh, do you like you got the wiggles. They're so funny. So yeah, keeping them outdoors here, it's easy once the nighttime temperatures get, you know, mid to high 60s and up. Keeping them indoors, like y'all have seen with our setup, we have their, you know, basking light on a dimmer as well as a UVB light. UVB is going to be very, very, very important for these guys, just like with pretty much any other reptile. It's very important. And then for humidity, I just made sure that I kept them sprayed down, and I had a space heater in the room to keep everything, you know, the temperatures where they need to be. Now let's talk diet. So just like with humans and any other reptile, what these guys eat is incredibly important for them. So these tortoises are actually more of a grassland tortoise. So they're not eating a lot of different fruits and vegetables and things like that as part of their main staple. You know, as treats and all that, that's fine. But these guys are just going to be like your sulcatas and Russian tortoises and other breeds of grassland, where their primary diet is sorry, I flatulated. You know, grasses, weeds, hay, stuff like that doesn't have necessarily the highest nutritional value. So these guys have evolved their digestive system to where things stay in them for a very long time. It doesn't just go through real quick. Because with grasses and weeds and stuff like that, they're not being as nutritious, they hold on to everything as long as possible so their systems can really extract every little bit of nutrition from them, which is why when you have grassland tortoises and you feed them diets that are way too high in nutrients, that's where they can have a lot of issues, because they'll start growing too fast and their body's just receiving so many nutrients that it doesn't, you know, it's just an overload. Just like with a human, you know, if you eat too much junk food or something like that, your body's taking in too much. So with these guys, for feeding them, I feed them, their staple diet is actually cactus pads, which if you live close by to a like a Hispanic grocery store, that is perfect. I get cactus pads at the one near us. They'll range anywhere from like 69 cents a pound to $1 a pound, just depending on the time of year. Darn chickens. And I'll pick them up, you know, I mean, probably about 10 pounds a week or so. So they eat a lot of cactus pads, which are really, really good for them. Their nutrition in them it's not enough nutrients to be bad for them, like too much for them, but it's not, you know, like a grass. So it does have a little bit more, but it's just all the vitamins, minerals, the moisture in them. The cactus pads are great, and obviously you can see by the way that they've grown and how their shells are, it works really well. Of course, their diet is supplemented. You know, I do offer them hay. They're still a little young, so they pick at it, so they're not eating it like crazy just yet. I do give them the occasional Missouri tortoise chow. Every now and again, I'll give them some extra greens, so all sorts of different stuff just to mix their diet up. But you can see, like I said, they're very healthy. They all are looking great, nice smooth shells. When you pick them up, you want a tortoise to feel dense, which they all do. So they've been doing really, 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 really well. So big issue that you see with all tortoises, not just, you know, giant tortoises, is pyramiding, and you'll hear a lot about that. And what pyramiding is when their shell, the scutes on their shell, which are all the, you know, all the different spots here. You know, these are all individual scutes. I am surprised that Phyllis isn't running away from me. Wow, maybe we had a breakthrough. They'll start to grow unevenly, where they'll literally each be like individual little pyramids, and they'll have a very bumpy shell. You can see that's not the case with these guys. All of their shells are like bowling balls. All those white lines you see in between the scutes are growth lines. So as they grow, just kind of like on a tree where they grow rings, kind of same deal with tortoises. They get those growth lines on their scutes, and that means that they're growing nice. You don't want their growth lines to be like friggin' half an inch. You actually want, the thinner the growth line, the better if you're going for a slow grow, which is what I do. I never want to rush the development of any of our animals, but with any larger species of animal that does grow quickly, you really have to be careful, because if they grow too fast, it's just not good for them. So these guys are growing great, but for pyramiding, so there's you'll see a lot of stuff online about pyramiding, about what causes it, how to prevent it, all this other stuff. There's nothing necessarily definitive about it, but there's a lot of different things that go into it. Big thing is humidity, and then their food intake and their protein intake. Those seem to be kind of all the major points when it comes to pyramiding. So you want to make sure that the humidity is correct. What's this? This little garbage from one of our dead plant baskets. Let me throw this out here. Boop. So where was I? Pyramiding. Moisture. Yeah, moisture, humidity, stuff like that. So that's a really big one. You want to make sure that their humidity stays where it's supposed to be. You know, when you have a lower humidity tortoise and you give them too high of humidity, or vice versa, a high humidity tortoise and you give them not enough humidity, just that all affects, you know, the growth pattern of their shell. The other thing too with it is their diet. You know, so if I was overfeeding these guys, feeding them the wrong diets, feeding them tons of fruits and veggies and Missouri every day, and just all these foods that are potentially high protein or just that are just incredibly nutritious, which you think would be good for them, but again, for their particular digestive system, it's not. All that kind of stuff, the wrong diet and feeding them too much and too fast of growth, that all can lead to pyramiding as well. So because of all that, so we try to keep low and slow. We think barbecue, and I try and do that for all of our animals, the snakes, everything. They're going to get big eventually. You know, as much as I would love them all to be big right now, their overall health is a lot more important. And I'd rather see a nice big healthy animal, and with the tortoises, I'd rather see a big healthy animal with a perfectly smooth shell. So that way I know that they're just super nice and healthy. So another fun fact about the Aldabra tortoises, them and the Galops are the longest lived tortoise species on the planet. There are, I think the oldest, why are the dogs eating plants? Like, you would think that I have cows. But, where you can, what is she? Chloe! She doesn't even care. Whatever, let her get her salad. These guys are all, I mean, I believe the oldest record, or the oldest recorded, might still even be living. I think it was like 188 years old, or it might have actually been a little bit over 200. I can never quite remember. So these guys, they live for a very, very, very long time. So what's the point in rushing it? You know, I mean, of course, I want them to be big and awesome in my lifetime, but they're going to get there. If it takes 20 to 30 years, you know, so be it. It's one of those things where when you get an animal like this, it's expected. You know, you're not getting an animal like this expecting it to be full grown in, you know, 5 years maybe, like you would with an iguana. So it's all about just enjoying the ride with these guys and letting them do their thing. So with these guys being a grassland species, they are grazers. So honestly, think of like a goat or a cow, but in, you know, shell form. Hi, Phil. Sweet little thing. So these guys are grazers. They love eating just all the different grasses and weeds, flowers, there's all sorts of stuff like that. So that's why in their pen up here, that's on the deck, so I do have a tarp down underneath all of this so I could put down dirt and everything. I laid sod down, which is the same sod from a couple years ago, which it's somewhat like, it used to all be up there too, but they just kind of wrecked all that. So that way they do have the opportunity that they can get little bits of grazing as well, probably by next summer when they're too big for this. They'll get moved down, you know, to the bottom of the deck in the yard. Well, I'll be able to extend this and they'll get grass and all that constantly. But yeah, these guys love to be able to graze. If you have them in a habitat where they're able to graze full time, you know, that's great for their diet. And then at that point, you just supplement their diet with, you know, the cactus pads, hay, the tortoise chow every now and again, things like that. So these guys are super easy to keep. It's the size. They need space. For the 4 of them that we have, you know, by the time they're full-blown adults, I mean, I'm going to want to probably give them, you know, 1/10 of an acre to 1/4 of an acre, if not more, depending on, of course, the space that we have, to give them tons of space to be able to move around and walk and run, graze. Well, I say run, but you know what I'm trying to say. Just give them all the space in the world, because exercise is very, very, very important to these guys. If they're not moving around enough and getting those back leg muscles really nice and strong, that can actually lead to a lot of issues for them. Because as heavy as they get, they need really nice, strong legs to support them. So another good thing is having all sorts of different terrains and substrates, which I need to add more to this. You know, I used to have all of this would be like mulch. I had kind of like dirt and sand all over here, the grass here. So just that way, with every step that they take, they're stepping on something different, and they're going up, they're going down, just all sorts of different stuff to use their muscles. Small little hills, anything for them to step over, go up, go down, that kind of stuff is all very, very, very important to making sure that your tortoises are healthy. And that's every tortoise, that's not just the Aldabra'S, but it is more vital with these larger species. Just like with a big person like myself, if I had tiny little chicken legs or something like that, it would be very difficult for me to walk around, carry myself around, and do anything strenuous for my daily life. But having these big hunks, I can carry myself around a lot better. You can see with these guys, let's go over to Fredward. I mean, they basically have little elephant trunks. Or not trunks, but like elephant legs. They are just massive, massive, massive legs. But again, because they're very large and they need to move around. In a nutshell, you know, that is those are our tortoises. That's how, you know, we're caring for them. It's a very simple, easy way to keep them. Of course, if you have any other additional questions, 'cause I'm sure there's plenty I didn't cover, again, feel free to send me a leave a comment down below. Shoot me a message on Facebook or Instagram at GBL Iguanas. Really? Both of you? And they're not trying to hurt the animals. They're just trying to get in, investigate, and play with them, but I'm not allowing that. Yeah, any questions that y'all might have about these guys, you know, absolutely feel free to hit me up on it. I got all 4 of these guys from Sam down at Florida Iguana and Tortoise Breeders. Check him out as well. He's always posting really awesome stuff on his Instagram and Facebook and his YouTube. Just really good information about these guys, videos of all of his big ones. It's a lot of really fun stuff to watch. Jeez Louise, man. Oh, always make sure you got fresh water out too, which they got a little bit of dirt in theirs, but yeah, they always need fresh water to stay hydrated. So yeah, thank y'all for watching. I hope y'all learned a little bit about some of these amazing, amazing animals. And like, comment, subscribe, all this fun jazz, you know how it is. GBLiguanas.com, 10% off the entire store with Diego 10. And we'll catch y'all next time.